We gonna put in work, because every time you put in work, you get the same consequences. You get paid, you get rewarded. And when you out there dealing with the real world, it ain't pretty. You got to have heart. Get some heart.
Those insects in real life, they're called haters. If you keep the faith, if you keep praying.
What happens when you hit this snooze button? You may not make your bed. You may not do your hair the way you want it. You may not pick the right clothes out in the morning time.
I was here if at the end of this interview and the end of reading my book, I added something to your life that made you build a table out of a tree, that I built it too. Then whenever anybody asks you about the table, you'll tell them about this guy you met and interview you know that that's how we have survived for centuries. That's how my people withstood slavery and the atrocities of our lives. Because in the midst of all the horrendous things we experience, we still clapped our hands and we still sang our songs. And we still managed to be creative and we are still here. So don't tell me about trouble through hanging the nooses and rapes and burnings and killings. We sang, and in my legacy is that you dance and sing and survive.
If you believe you've been called to be the difference maker, the game changer, the disruptor, the person that comes into a room and commands the atmosphere, if you believe you've been called to be necessary and not grossly irrelevant, then everything you do, everything you see, everything rises and falls on your perspective, your perception, your viewpoint. How do you see this thing? What happens when your perspective, your perception diametrically opposes your reality? If you are going to give and grow and evolve and attain and become, everything rises and falls on your viewpoint. Show me somebody that hates to work out, and I'll show you a man that almost lost his life, and the doctor said, if you don't work out, you'll die. One sees it as cumbersome. One sees it as a problem.
If I said you obsession, what's that mean to you? It means wanting to succeed as bad as I want to breathe. You know what I'm saying? It's like, whatever it is I say I want it like air. You know, and air is one of those things that, you know, because people always say, well, why you say air? Like, why you say, because you go without that for a few seconds, my friend, it's a wrap. It's done. So there are people who want stuff, but you kind of want it. Or you want it bad, but you don't want it as bad as you want to breathe. So to me, obsession is wanting something so bad that, you know, I go to bed, but I wake up to it. I make whatever sacrifice. I grind. Like, it's like I can't live without it. And so there are people who fantasize, romanticize about stuff, but like they're not obsessed with it.
Another one sees it as a privilege. He sees it as his second chance, his new lease on life. That I have to work out. I get to work out. I get a chance to live a little longer. So one person sees the gym as a prison, and another person sees the gym as a passport. One man came within inches of losing his life, and another man has never come within 100 miles of losing his life, and he only works out twice a month, and somebody else works out 4 or 5 times a week. The reason why you only do it once or twice a month is because you don't see the value. Your viewpoint is either your advantage or your assassin. Your viewpoint will either get you going or get you killed. We see a storm, we see rain, and we think depression. We think I can't do anything. Instead of thinking grass can't grow without rain.
You saw my t-shirt, no alarm clock needed. My passion wakes me up. I got up at 3 o'clock this morning, no clock. I ain't used the clock in 20 years. My passion wakes me up. My drive wakes me up. My determination wakes me up. My ability to be, do, and have whatever I want, it wakes me up. What wakes you up? What drives you? Why are you playing this game? Most of you have not gotten started yet because you're trying to get other people to invest in your stuff. You on GoFundMe. Create your own doggone GoFundMe. Bet on you. Put all your money on you, because guess what? When you spending somebody else's money, it's easy to walk away from it. And the problem with some of you, you've been told you was number one. I'm telling you what I'm telling you today, because I'm gonna need you to get your roots, because if your roots are strong, have you been to Miami? Have you seen the hurricanes that blew the houses down, but the trees still standing? The way the tree grows is it goes down first to the bedrock. It goes down first, then come up. Most of y'all just came up and you look just as sweet as the tree until a storm comes.
To something I'm not saying that you won't have opposition and trouble and tears. I don't. I have to write about that will find you on its own. Agony will always find you on its own. It's ecstasy that has to have your address on it. So I'm sending you the potential to go beyond agony to the ecstasy of fulfilling everything you were created to be. And that's my legacy. It's in the people that heard me.
You steady going back, putting seeds in the new row. Eventually, that row that you started 10 years ago, something that has sprouted has now become a stalk. And now it's starting to have corn come on it. Now, what you don't want to do is go back and just start eating corn because you don't have enough to sustain you yet. You want to let your crops grow to where the corn is big enough so you can't harvest every year, not always. Sometimes it'll show up in a year. Sometimes you won't harvest for 5 years. You're never given a timetable for when your dreams and your visions and everything you work for is going to come to pass. You don't get that given to you. Sometimes a whole crop get wiped out because you got a drought. See, if you forget to go back and nurture them, if you forget that haters don't matter, that you got to keep praying and working, you got to keep plowing the field.
And I go back to this real quick. Remember how you had a job interview for a job? We've had several of them in our lives. What did you do the night before that job, weeks before the job interview? We knew you had it. You prepared you had a bowl out for your oatmeal, your cereal, whatever you had in the morning time. Your coffee cup was out. Your clothes were laid out. You studied, you rehearsed, you were ready. You brought your best self. You were going to war with yourself because you wanted that interviewer to see your best self. You won. You got the job. After a few months in that job, you look around. I got the job. You start to back off. The clothes aren't out. You're not ready. Hit the snooze button. You don't get up on time anymore.
Something of what I said will make it into your book, and something of what you said will make it into the book of the person who read it, and that's how we have progressed. For centuries and eons and millenniums, because we passed the mic, we didn't drop it. If you lose your ability to hear, eventually it will affect your ability to speak, because there is a correlation between what the ear hears and what the mouth articulates. On the impetus of that ideology comes this tremendous premise of listening. Every great orator is a great listener, and I think we have lost now our ability to speak. Not yet, but we have lost our ability to listen.
You got to keep going back and forth because one year you're going to get plenty of rain and that crop is going to grow up and become the big stalks and have the fruit or the crops that you want on it. But you got to also understand that you get wiped out. Sometimes it's too much rain. That's how life happens to you. But you got to keep plowing and planting. And you learn as you get older how to fertilize and nurture your dreams. One day, if you keep plowing, all of a sudden you look up and you go, oh man, what I had forgot has now come to pass. I look back and I got a field full of crops. Well, now you can harvest now. Now you got something to take to the bank. Somebody say, you know what? This kid plows so good. Let me give him the money for a tractor. You ain't got a mule no more, you got a tractor. And if you keep plowing and the crops keep coming up, somebody gonna say, hey man, you got enough money you done made off the harvest, you can hire some people.
You realize that you can still have this job and not be your best self. The interview you is gone. Your job is gone. You have your job, but the interview is gone. So winning the battle in the morning time is just that. It's that you wake up in the morning time and you own all this stuff, because once you leave your house, the world then gets at you. Once you win that battle in the morning time, then once you go out, now you've won. You go outside your house, you may lose your job, you may have a bad hit, but you won something. So you're going into battle having already won something. Having already won. So then if you hit the snooze button, you go out, you just defeated already. You're behind the power curve. Now you've won something. You feel better about yourself. So now you're able to take these hits along the way. So that's the mindset that I think it's important to bring with you every day you go. Everywhere you go in life. Win what you can.
The only thing we do is pause while we formulate our next approach to attack, and that's not listening. Oh, that's strategizing, but if we actually take the time to listen, most of us all want the same things. Most of us want to be loved, most of us want to be appreciated, most of us want to be accepted, flaws at all. Most of us, if we have children, want what's best for our children. Most of us are scared, most of us are anxious, and I'm worried.